Peace, family. This is your boy Gerald. It is October 12th, 2021. How are you doing? As I allow my eyes to focus, because those are reading glasses, gotta take a second for the eyes to dilate. I was just thinking just now, how is it in 2021 we are so divided as a culture, as a people? Why is it that the things that are critical are being rewarded, but there's no solution given? Who am I talking to? There is 1,000,001 examples of disrespect and bad behavior, but it goes viral. It's celebrated. It's compensated. That's the world we live in. Well, here's my question, because I know somebody's going to hear the context of what I'm trying to convey, and they're going to nitpick it. And you're entitled to. But what I haven't figured out, and I'm patient, I'm truly patient, because everything that is being presented on social media are the same things that, from a humanity standpoint, are prayed about. So I'm grateful, at a minimum, there is conversation that is talking about psychology of the mind in regards to mental health, a dialogue that talks about the aspects of relations, be it with companionship versus the individual self. So at a minimum, I'm grateful, because this is what manifestation is all about. It is no different than taking a stone and casting that stone in a body of water to cause a ripple effect. From the impact point, which is the vortex, out, the energy gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you cannot see it. But eventually, said energy will return back to source. I used to always convey in my videos, energy out is energy return, because we're talking about self. The importance of understanding who you are, understanding your true voice, finding comfort in your discomfort, but allowing yourself to be vulnerable so that not only you understand the value of transparency, but the requirements of the making of you. Who am I talking to? Why is it everybody's got an opinion, but how many people offer a solution? Why isn't that something that is focused upon? say we need a resolution, but you can't have a resolution until you decide to acknowledge what the solution is to act upon it. Who am I talking to? Now, on one aspect, because initially when I tried to record earlier, and there was all these distractions going on. But I also know that the devil's work is never done. I understand that too. I've always pondered this one question, and I based that on my walk, because I started my walk nearly a decade ago. And one of the things that I always pondered as a man, what is required to love someone or to love somebody? And I looked at that question on the decisions that I made. Now, I will say I've been very blessed and very fortunate to have opportunities be bestowed on me that have allowed me to travel pretty much all over this world. I know that you got the eight modern structures of the world, and I can tell you, out of that 8, I know I've physically touched damn near 5. I know for sure 5 of them. So I've been very blessed to say that, to see that with my own eyes. And eventually, as I grow, expand, I'll be able to add and show you proof from footage of myself 20 years ago. And I'm saying that because I'm a firm believer that this will resonate for the intended person at the intended time. It may be you, it may be someone that will happen to be in a place where their hands guide them with keystrokes and they see my thumbnail and they're like, wow, this brother was talking about this then. That's the one beautiful thing about the internet, family. No matter what the representation, it will forever be archived for your generations to see. And that's the one thing that is kind of stark for some people, because the behaviors that are being presented for some are going to be illustrated in real time to the generations to come that they will never see, because they would have passed. They have transitioned on back to spiritual form. Well, we ignore that. Why? Because a lot of us live for today, not for tomorrow or forever. So, one question I've always kind of conveyed in my videos, first and foremost, thank you for your support. Thank you for those who've been stumbled on my channel oh so long ago. But thank you. I appreciate the likes. I appreciate even when you dislike. The only request, even with that, I asked, what was it that you needed clarity on? Because the one thing that I can also say is everybody is entitled their opinion or their perception. But even with that, it is our responsibility as a race, a human race, to each one teach one. See, it's easy to criticize and point fingers, But it's hard to show examples if you're not doing the work. Who am I talking to? So at first, I was thinking, I said, well, how is it when we're in the most advanced time in our society when it comes to technology, we are more divided than ever? I mean, I remember there was a time where communication was based off of if you were lucky to have a phone number that was accurate, or an address, or you depended on the connections of your peers, people you grew up with, or someone who knew someone or who had access to make sure said communication was rendered in your behalf. I remember them days. But then technology started to show up. The internet was born. I remember there was a time where you actually needed to know, you had to remember those phone numbers that had importance. First, it was your parents' work phone. Then it was your house phone. Then it was your grandparents' phone or grandma. Next of kin. You knew those verbatim because you never knew if you need to be called upon to use them. Yes, I remember them days. But you know what's puzzling, family? And mind me, because I'm drinking a cold beverage. I don't understand how is it that we as people have embraced a position of being, how can I say it, exhibitionists. But we don't have that same energy required to communicate. Where's that same energy at? We have that same energy required if we want to act a fool, but we don't have that same energy to be vulnerable with ourselves. Who am I talking about? And it's frustrating. So you see people that choose to take positions of, well, I can show you better than I can tell you. But what if the message gets misinterpreted, miscued, misunderstood? What about that? So what do? I can only be me. I can only speak from a place of authenticity. I can only be transparent. Because I've made mistakes. Oh yes. I've made mistakes in my journey of manhood. Because let me tell you something, when it comes to being a man, you don't get a handout or a pamphlet or a booklet. You may be lucky to have physical illustration through behavior. But a lot of times, you have to figure it out as you go. That's where your moral compass or your moral character comes into play and it is tested. But if you add the layers, such as what you look like, what your economics is, that may become a problem. Who am I talking to? All you wanted to do was be accepted. But what happens? You get caught up in playing reindeer games, placed in situations of uncomfort, and you have to adapt the ability or concept of faking it to make it. So when you're gonna, let me ask you this, when are you going to stop faking being you? Who am I talking to? We have gotten so hypersensitive on the things that should be focused on. We want to put a wave or a band-aid over it instead of addressing it wholeheartedly. It's easy to make your pocket feel heavy, but it matches the same weight of your heart because you are lonely. Who am I talking to? Even to the point they've made jokes about doing something strange for change. How did we get there? So that's the social narrative being promoted today because it makes money. Discord makes money. But what I find funny is the same people that want to point out said discord don't offer solutions. Don't allow themselves to be vulnerable to say, hey, I might not be where you are, but I once walked in them shoes. And they are the visual example. Who am I talking to? It's easier to get you to do things less than to uplift and celebrate your uniqueness. Who am I talking to? So guess what's happening? Slowly but surely, society is grooming the next generations to come to be, how shall I say it, socially conditioned, emotionally numb, to accept and expect less than, to demarginalize your individuality. And I'm here to tell you, it don't have to be that way. Now, here's the funny thing. For about the last 3 hours, I've had this little gecko, right, come in and out of my garage. Let me see if I can switch this kitchen mode. Catch him. Let me see if I can look down. He's between the chair and the dryer, and the washing machine, I'm sorry because of the smoke. There you go. See him? Now, he's missing half his tail. Now, I'm going to tell you the backstory about this gecko. Because here in Hawaii, they're everywhere. They're prevalent. They help with the ecosystem. And from time to time, they may find a way inside where you live. Now, for some, the squeamish, they're like, no, I can't do that, blah, 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 blah. But on the flip side, the insect population, they are your best exterminators. Now, here's my point. This is funny. He is on a... I wish I could zoom in. There you go. Look at... If I couldn't show you, I've never seen this before. Wow. Okay. All right. So, now here's the backstory on this. If I think that's the same lizard, I remember damn near 5 months ago, there was a little baby that was crawling on my wall on my second floor. And I called myself trying to grab him and take him outside. And his tail broke. And I was like, man, I done killed this little lizard. Man, I can't believe it. And I ain't see that lizard no more. And ironically, there's this gecko missing a tail and still hanging around my house. And I think that's the same one. Here's my point. No matter how much time has gone by in your life, no matter how many bad decisions you may have made, you still live. You're still living because you still have a purpose, which means the best you is yet to come. I'll break it down. You may have battle scars from choices made that may haunt you. But guess what? You persevered through that. You saw how strong you was and adapted to your environment. Now, let's talk about that environment. Let's just say said environment was not the environment you were supposed to be in at all. So, when you have been able to identify that with yourself, because I know plenty of you have had conversations inside your mind. I'm not crazy, but you're trying to process what's best for you at that moment. And you make the best logical decision at that time. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's damn near frightening because it's requiring you to do something you've never done in your life. And that is to trust yourself. Who am I talking to? So all that process, all that movement, all those decision makers, the one thing that you should have done the most is allowed yourself to take accountability of yourself. To allow yourself to reflect on where you've been. Because when you decide to reflect on where you are compared to where you've been, guess what happens? You gain wisdom. You have enshrined your story. And you have also identified what makes you different from everybody else. I used to use this analogy a long time ago. Feels like yesterday, about the childhood story of the ugly duckling. The ugly duckling, excuse me. These soup coolers don't want to work sometimes. And I used to look at my life in that illustration. I did, because no matter what I did, no matter, because everything came from a big place from my heart, and I found myself getting taken advantage of all the time. Got in more fights because of my outer, what I looked like on the outside, than who I was inside. And I realize that now, that was just fear. It didn't have nothing to do with acceptance. Like, who was that said that? I think it was Pastor T.D. Jakes. I give him credit when credit's due. And he said and I'm paraphrasing, he said this in a sermon. How are you going to know how strong your wings are when you're walking around the chickens, when in actuality you were born to be an eagle and soar? Some of you were born with natural gifts, we're all born with natural gifts and talents. Don't get that messed up. But we've been conditioned to dumb down, to play the role, just to feel accepted in the said environment that you're currently in. Who am I talking to? If it feels uncomfortable in the environment that you're in, no matter what you try to do, no matter how witty you try to play, no matter how strategic you move, when are you going to finally accept you was never supposed to be there all along? Because I think that is one of the biggest problems people have today, is admitting to themselves that they deserve better. And when they do finally acknowledge that, they wager that compared to the reality of where they are still. Maybe that said environment just has to proverbially push you out of it because you never belonged to begin with. Like in the old comic books. The jig's up. You've finally seen what needed to be exposed. Now, when that's the case, you hold your dignity. If anything, that should make you more observant. Because I'm going to tell you what, the people that don't have your best interest, they're watching everything you do. They can kick back what you said. Does it surprise you? Because even in Scripture, the devil knew the Bible better than man did. And they will take what you deem as strengths and use them against you. So this is where it gets deep. So what if, proverbially, you realize that one of your strengths is your physicality? Let's go a little deeper. What if you realize that sexually you're a threat because you exude passion unlike anybody that you've come in contact with? You do understand there's a responsibility with your sexual energy, right? You didn't know that? Yeah. That's why you have people that are drawn to you with the intent to drain it, to hinder it, to break it. Why? Because they already know who you are. They already know what you possess. And they also are afraid of your capabilities if you came to know about this said gift. What am I talking about, Gerald? Because I know somebody's like, you talking about me, but you're pissing me off. Okay. We cannot ignore the fact that there are some people that are given the natural gift of physicality. They're stunning to the eye. But guess what? There are some, that their beauty comes from the inside out. And this doesn't matter. That's why you can tell, because they have a very alluring smile. First of all, haven't you noticed if you had to have a commonality with an inanimate object, we'll say a diamond, and a person's smile, there are no two are the same. Both have the same ability to put people in awe. Damn near put them under a trance. Why wouldn't that require a responsibility? Because that's a gift. That's something that should not be taken for granted. What am I alluding to? Family. Do you realize more so than ever there is an attempt to get you emotionally numb to the point that you don't see the value in yourself? Starting with your mind, body second. And that's why there's so much energy to get you to accept certain behaviors that you should not. That's why you used to always hear people talk about purity, virginesque, because those people have a innate ability about themselves that is very powerful, if not tainted. That's why we would be remiss not to talk about soul ties. Why is it in today's society they're not they're not talking about that in regards to, hey, you need to be mindful who you decide to give the ultimate gift to, your temple, your body. The two bodies become one. But they never talk about the spiritual energy that is left. They never talk about the ramifications if you're irresponsible. See what I'm saying? But I think it's just kind of ironic that you got everybody pointing fingers and saying you should do this, and well, why is this statistically blah 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 blah, but not one time are they conveying this is what I would recommend. Now, at the end of the day, you got free will. It's your life. How you decide to play it and what you decide to do with it, that's your choice. That is your choice. However, I can tell you this though, that person that you see on the curb, that Johnny Homeless, did not wake up one morning and say, you know what, I'm gonna leave my life to the fate of a stranger. It don't happen like that. So, I didn't want to, there was some stuff going on, I had to stop. But, I just think that it's just crazy that you have so many people angry. So many people angry, but nobody's offering a solution. Why is it so hard? Why is it you should have more and more people saying, well, you know what? I understand where you've been, where you are, Well, I've been there. Here's a solution. Here's a suggestion. Now, at the end of the day, it's about free will. It's your choice how you're going to navigate your life. But I will tell you this, though. For everything that you've gone through, every disappointment that you have felt, if you choose not to acknowledge what does not work, everything you went through was in vain. See, listen. How do you think, unfortunately, some of our elders end up being bitter, angry, got so much disdain about them? And you want to be respectful to them. You want to have a conversation, but you can't get near because, sadly, them same people have a reality of acknowledging the fact that they allowed their time to change things slip between their hands, their fingers. That's why having a mindset of, well, you know what, I'm gonna knock them down just as quick as they come in my face, or flip it. Well, I'm gonna get me that dude because he's gonna be able to give me an economic heads up. But at what price? At what price, family? There ain't no advantage on putting mileage on your body, but disease, but calamity, stuff that you don't see coming around the corner because you want to play Russian roulette, roll the dice on your immune system. Well, we ain't talking about that. We got far many people talking about what should I get the jab or shouldn't I? But you ain't even worrying about the basic requirements for your immune system. But they don't talk about that. Why? because there was a lot of money in fear. Fear baiting is big time money. There's no money. Like, look, how many of y'all have heard this one? There's no money in cures. They know that. So imagine if people invested that same energy in your emotional health. You realize how many people walking around numb, broken, and bitter because they refuse to acknowledge what don't work? You realize, listen, I can't tell you how many people have come to my video and said, well, hey, family, at the end of the day, it's your life. You can't look, there's an agenda out there to move the algorithm. I'm going to tell you that. And I'm going to tell you what, one of the lowest movement on when it comes to that said social media is people speaking betterment. And that's fine. I've been speaking on this since 2011. I don't have an agenda. And if I had to declare one, it's for you to have the life of your dream. But it's going to require work. If you constantly are deflecting when you know that said, whatever that is, fill in the blank, is what's really going on, and that's what's causing you to react in said behavior, who has control of that? You do. Your life. How much is your life worth? Because you can't measure your life based off of your curves. You can't base the value of your worth, King, what's hanging between your legs. And let me tell you something. And I'm going to pick my words very strategic. Those who do and those who have, they know. What you think might be a gift may be a curse because there's a responsibility that's required for your life. But see, I was told this a long time ago. To ask about it, you gotta be about it. Ask one, be one. Well, you want to be a man, you have to do what's required to earn the right to call yourself a man. You can't buy your way. You can buy your way to rubbing elbows and access, but if you're not ready to receive what said information, which a lot of times is nothing but an illusion anyway, because everything that you really need is found within yourself. You'll come to understand you've wasted a whole lot of time. But I think it's funny because, you know, social media was supposed to be an example or an opportunity to just show and display the individual, not the status quo. You got so many people out there on that hater stuff, but them the same people that won't put the same energy required to better themselves. Why? Because they wouldn't have nothing to talk about. They wouldn't have a testimony. But they gravitate towards those who can relate. I ain't mad for somebody trying to better themselves economically if there's a lane for it. But I will say this. Them same folk saying you should do this, you should do that. I wonder if you changed the trajectory or asked, well, from what position are you basing it from? And from that said position, what was your solution? And guess what? You will see a vast amount of them will shut down because they're riding the coattails. They're riding what is considered bandwagon. They are. They ain't got shit to tell you. And unfortunately, them same people are the same people that are looking through life through a cracked reality or a cracked mirror. They don't like what they see because it's too painful. And the reality is the person on the other side that has yet to grow. You know, I will always say this. One of the most tragic things you can behold from a man's standpoint is a woman that's lost her smile. But I can also say that to the right woman is probably bewildering as well. Because you're witnessing a person that does not know their value. They do not know their worth, as well as they do not understand the footing that they stand upon. They don't know. So they're trying to navigate life the best way they can based off of the examples that are being shown. But what if that said example being shown is only meant to divide you even more? And that is very pragmatic. That is very scary. Because guess what? Generations will come from that. Generations will be even more fragmented from that. Why? Because it takes more courage to speak the truth. And you should have that same energy when you speak your name. Who am I talking to? You wondering why your environment, your audience don't respect you, but you're not giving them something to respect, even if it requires separation. Because the one thing I've come to learn about folks that get to that point of understanding, you may never get your flowers in the beginning, but you'll always get it after all. Because in the back of their mind, oh, they know a good thing that they had. They know. You will forever be enshrined in their emotional psyche. Now here's the crazy part about that. In the process, that's why when you hear people talking about that's why you should rebound. I'm going to tell you something. The worst thing you could ever do is rebound. Coming out of a relationship of some type. First of all, be honest with yourself how that relationship was formed. What the context was. Because if you're able to identify the context of said bond, you'll also see why it played out the way it did. If that said environment did not make you feel safe, how could you expect said context or that bond to grow? It was already stunted from the first hello. That's why, when you hear people say, well, you know what, I don't care, I got body count. First of all, don't judge yourself. Because the same people that is laughing at you today, which they don't have no character, are really the same ones that are going to be crying behind the scenes because they're going to wish that they could hear you breathe. Let's make that straight. And what's so magnificent about it, if you decide to do the damn work, first of all, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself because you know not what you did. And you were basing it off of a mentality, thinking that was rational. Here's another analogy. Here's a reference point. The person that you are today should not be the person that you were 5 years ago. You should always progress. But if your exposure is based off of low energy, does it surprise you why you're always tired? You're always disconnected? Don't want to be bothered to the point you say, well, you know what, I'm done with them. I'm going to go ahead and jump over the fence because they understand me for me. Guess what? All you're going to do is attract the same mentality, and they're going to do you worse because you deserve better. Who am I talking to? But I know there's a lot of people that don't want to hear the truth because secretly they've given up on themselves, and you have a worldly approach. Let me tell you something. The moment that you truly decide to believe in something bigger than your mindset, your life will change. It will change prophetically. It will take you emotionally a million miles from what you could even conceptualize. When the time comes right, I'm going to tell you a story. And I'm going to tell you a story about, I was going to, in the back of my mind, I've had this image of a book, and it was called The Adventures of a Boy Named Gerald, about my life. If I was to tell you some of the just snapshots and snippets of what I've experienced, you would have to pick up your mouth. Let me tell you what the commonality was. Your boy only wanted love, only wanted to feel emotionally safe. And I believe majority of you want that. When you push that fear out the way, when you stop lying to yourself, when you put your sexual energy on the shelf to put your emotional energy in front of it, you will proverbially lift that 1,000-pound weight. And I'm gonna tell you this too, because some of y'all, this is gonna be monumental for some of y'all. You know why some of y'all have a high libido, high sexual energy? Some of y'all like, I can't control myself. They say the right thing and voila, it's like abracadabra, boom, the treasure's there. You're like, you may say, I want to blame it on alcohol or the moment, blah, 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 blah. No. Right. Can't use that when it comes to you. You know the reason. But deep down inside, you know why it's so high? It is so that you self-sabotage yourself from the person that's meant to be with you that will unlock the other side of your life, to stunt it. So let's just say you desire to have children. You desire to one day be a mother of dignity, and you want to be the wife or the respectable husband, but your sex drive has got you, no. You know what's happening? That's all that low energy trying to convince you to hit that brick wall to a point that when the person that's supposed to be revealed in your life, they don't get to embrace the fruits of your life. Can't afford that, because maybe, just maybe, the person that will come from you in them may change the world. Who am I talking to? You know those things that you dream about, that you say you wish you wanted You say, if I had the ability, this is on my bucket list. The person that's supposed to be in your life is going to be a part of that. And guess what? It's going to supersede your wildest dreams if you prepare for that. But to do that, you have to be authentic with yourself, which means you can't lie to you. You can't run from you. You cannot continue to do the things that make you cry at night, that make you feel insecure, that make you disrespected, which make people not take you serious. At a minimum, to be honest. Who am I talking to? You say, I just want closure, Gerald. I just want to understand why they did that to me. Why did they, who gave them the right to feel that they could do that to me? Who am I talking to? When you decide to connect your spirit to something greater than you, all your questions will be answered like someone proverbially opening up that door. Be prepared to what comes on the other side of that door. Some of y'all, your behaviors is generated because of the connection you didn't have with your parents. Who am I talking to? Queens. You convince yourself, I'm going to think like a man because men do it, but who ends up picking their face up? Trying to scrape up their dignity and try to convince themselves, well, I got mine, but you left still trying to process it 3 weeks later, but you ain't heard from them since you left. Come on, man. Stop playing. Stop playing. So I'm going to just say this one last time for this video. Sweet. So listen, fam. I need your help because you guys are being deprived of, 65% better content that you deserve. I can't show you. I can't show it to you. I can't give you access to it until I get 1,000 subscribers. I've been sitting on 600 plus. Look how long I've been doing this. What's wrong? That should tell you right there. It's not the content. It's because it's different. It's different because it's truth. Shouldn't be the end goal for you is to inspire to have a better life? Come on. But you let those keep distracting you. They're going to keep disenfranchising you. And they like to keep you unbalanced because they know that you spend money that way. Oh, don't worry about the stuff that you're hurting, but go ahead and spend that bread on this. Which, what happens? You forget about it 2 weeks after you got it, only to replace it with another distraction. Some of you might do that with your relationships too. Well, you know what? He didn't act right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give this guy a shot. He's been in the queue for a minute. Or, well, you know what? She ain't my type, but she got a wiggle how she walk, but yet she don't respect you when you talk. Who am I talking to? If you think you deserve better, rightfully deserve better, give me a thumbs up. And if you know that you deserve better, share my videos, tell your friends that may be going through a rough patch or may need just an illustration that their life matters. Otherwise, you continue to stay like the status quo. And like so many people, they got plenty of opportunity to complain, but they won't offer no work. Why? Because they want to keep you distracted. Because misery loves company. Be blessed.